April 25th, 2023 board meeting is now in order. I'm happy to welcome your fellow board members and the public. My mom is Danielle and becoming a principal to Sunshine State Elementary. Thank you. Have a good day.
She actually put down sunshine, then crossed it off, and then put sunrise. So anyways, thank you guys. Roll call, please. Mr. Paul.
Mr. Susan?
Here.
Ms. Wright?
Here.
Ms. Jenkins?
Here.
Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Trent?
Here.
Well, does everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the public that your appropriate place for public participation in the meeting is during your individual public comment opportunity as identified in the agenda. Outside of your individual public comment opportunity, your role in the meeting is as an observer. The board will now hold a moment of silent reflection and invite the audience to join. At this time, I'd like to offer my fellow board members and Ms. Han an opportunity to recognize student staff and or members of the community. Who wants to go first? Okay. Skip everybody or?
Sorry.
All right.
All right.
Okay, Ms. Campbell, go.
I have a lot. And I have some swag. So you'll be excited. So I'm going to save that for last. So first of all, a couple weeks ago, I met some of my fellow school board members from across the state in Pinellas County, and they took us around and showed us these college career centers and gave us some ideas, and I was so excited. And they were talking about how they had just won. They just found out that they had won for the most improved district in completion of FAFSA for the large counties. And lo and behold, I got back and checked my own email and found out that Brevard was the overall, for large county, overall winner MVP for FAFSA completion. So super proud of the efforts of Dr. Sullivan and Dr. Dokes and the team that was formulated to get those FAFSA completions up in Brevard County, so more students are keeping their eyes on the prize of how to get into college and get it paid for. So great job, Brevard. Super proud of you. And that doesn't happen without that community support that Dr. Dokes led. You know, just getting into the schools that had the lowest completion rates and really focusing on the students who don't even understand that whether you're going to college or a technical school, that there's money to help you pay for it. So great job. Second, and I know Ms. Jenkins may mention one of these, but I got the chance last Thursday and Friday to do senior project judging at West Shore and then Edgewood. You know, double dose. It was fantastic both days. Loved it. And I just wanted to congratulate our students, our seniors, for such a great job, and the teachers who supported them in those years-long processes of going through the research or science project or a senior leadership project. They were all fantastic. And also thank the community volunteers who came in to judge. It's an all day long event. It is giving, but you get so much back because you hear these seniors talk about their passion and their goals and their dreams and the hard work they've already done and the insight they have into their own personal academic and personal growth. And it's really inspiring. Friday night, I was on the roof of Chick-fil-A in West Melbourne, along with some of our principals and assistant principals and elected officials. Ms. Jenkins was not there because she raised her bail money before Friday night, and so she got to skip out into going on the rooftop jail. We were raising money for the Special Olympics, and so shout out to all of our principals and assistant principals who joined me up there, and our other elected officials, as well as the West Melbourne Police Department, who spearheaded that effort. Final thing, and that is next week launches the School Lunch Hero Celebration. And I told you guys about that last time, so make sure next week, particularly Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, right? Well, actually, we may have a meeting that morning, but if we don't have a meeting, find a day next week to get out into the schools and volunteer. Either you can do breakfast or you can do lunch, but you must do a hairnet. I was going to bring hairnets, but Mr. Kevin Thornton, the head of Food Nutrition Services, went a little step farther and put together a whole cafeteria workers volunteer survival kit. So in this, you will find a little cape. Oh, some awards to give out. I'm sorry. I should have looked beforehand. Some of these little pen goodies to give out to the cafeteria staff that you serve with. And a t-shirt celebrating. It says, "Not all heroes wear capes." And you can be for one day, a school lunch hero. And then also in here you will find Gatorade and some lotion and, Snicker bars. And I believe this is where you will find your hairnet. And so you guys get out there, volunteer. We love our food nutrition staff. You guys in the public, if you've got kids in our public schools, have them write a little thank you for being an awesome hero, because our food nutrition services staff just rock it every day, and we're so proud of them. So we have one for you too, Ms. Hand, so you and me can join the hairnet squad. All right, thank you guys.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we give Gatorade and Snickers to all of our cafeteria staff on a regular basis? Because I feel like that's not very fair for us to accept.
I don't have an answer to that question, but if you want to give out the Gatorade and Snickers as well as the little pens, you can do that. Just don't give out the hairnets.
I'll go ahead and go next. And Ms. Campbell did mention a couple of things that I had the ability to participate in too. I did not get to attend the Cops on the Coop event in West Melbourne, but I do want to say a special shout out to the West Melbourne Police Department for putting that on annually. And a special thank you to all the community members who participated in that fundraiser. Together, just with me alone, we collected $1,200 for that organization. So I appreciate you all so much for being so generous, and thank you for not making me stand on top of a roof. Appreciate it. I also got to participate at West Shore to judge their senior boards. I had the privilege of being in the AP capstone rooms. These students are incredible. And one of the things that impressed me the most was our AP capstone students have been working all year on their senior projects that they had to put together 15 to 20-minute presentations to send to AP and the College Board. But in order for them to do these senior project presentations, they had to shrink them down to 6 to 8 minutes, which if you've ever had to do a presentation, to chop it down by 2/3 is a really difficult feat. And they were so impressive, every single one of them. The volunteers that were in the room with me were struggling because I felt like, how do I give any of them not a perfect score? Everyone is so incredible. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for Adrienne Gent for putting that on and for inviting me to participate once again. I also was able to participate in the L3 Harris STEM Challenge that was up here at the district. Again, another opportunity to see the remarkable math and science skills of our students across the district. Thank you to Michelle Marshall for inviting me and continuing to invite me to all of the STEM opportunities that we have here in Brevard Public Schools. And last but not least, had the opportunity to participate last night with Bright. This is about 10 religious congregations that come together in unity from all different denominations. I believe they meet bi-monthly in order to come together to focus on issues to tackle across Brevard County. And so the two issues that they're taking on this year are education, specifically the reading gaps for our third graders, as well as affordable housing for our residents here in Brevard County. It was wonderful to come together collaboratively and hear that I believe there was probably at least 200 people there last night, all speaking and focusing on positive changes for every single resident and every single student here in Brevard County. So thank you again for that invite and that opportunity.
All right, that's great. Okay. Mr. Trent, I always try to go to you last.
All right. So I'd like to have a big shout out for the 2023 Brevard Academic All-Star Team. Recently, they earned a second place finish at the Commissioner's Academic Challenge, also known as the Florida High School Academic Championship, kind of a state championship. Team Brevard competed against 10 other Division I teams over a 3-day period at the Omni World Resort in Orlando. This is Brevard's second top 3 finish in the last 2 years. Last year, and then 2022, they won the state championship at Disney World. Selection of these high-achieving students began last fall during 7 academic competitions known as the BCAC, in which 15 high schools participated. The top 7 players from these competitions were selected for their strengths in the following areas: art, English, foreign language, history, math, music, and science. Since January 9th, coaches Mike Prince and Eric LeBlanc have practiced with this team every Monday night at ESF in preparation for the state tournament. I'd like to say congratulations to everyone on Team Brevard for their hard work, grit, and determination and capability of representing BPS at this year's state championship. And we'll give them all a round of applause.
You are
All right.
good to go.
All right. I'm going to give a shout out to a couple different organizations. So the first one I'm going to give a shout out to is the Leadership Institute. I had the opportunity last week to spend Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with people from all over the country. 29 states were represented, of school board members or potential school board members. A lot of legislators were there, our Department of Education was there, and it was just a really good event, really speaking into the work that we do and how we're going to improve our districts all around the country. So I want to give a shout out to them for putting on an amazing event that was inspiration to many of us. I think we possibly maybe recruited some school board members that are going to run in the future, which it was good all the way around. Also want to give a shout out to ABC Builders, that's Associated Builders and Contractors. So I had the opportunity to go to a dinner this past week. Rachel Rutledge, our career and technical education specialist, was there, and she just got to speak to all of these contractors about how we can partner with them and help our students find a career immediately coming out of high school. And so that was an encouraging event. A lot of contractors all over our area, Central Florida. So I am excited about that. That's going to be good things coming in the future, and I thank Rachel for representing Brevard County really well. My next shout out is going to go to the Grove Church. And so this is a church that's near and dear to my heart. But this past weekend, they had a senior dinner. And let me tell you, so I have a student who is a senior. I'm not going to cry right now. I'll do my very best. But they host this event every year. And it's a way to honor the families and recognize the seniors that are graduating. So they put on this great event. It's a great dinner where you get to really bless your student and kind of send them off into the next chapter of their life. So I just want to give them a shout out, say thank you. That was a very special, monumental moment for a lot of families. A lot of tears. We all cried and went through it together, but it was a good event, and I'm very grateful. My last shout out is going to go to Coquina. So that school up in the north end of town has been going through all kinds of things construction related. So we had a fire. There's all kinds of things just happening there. And I just want to give a shout out to the staff there because they are really pulling it together. Going there and touring, and I'm watching where they're putting, moving offices and making a makeshift office here and there. And I just really thank you, Ms. Lovelace, from the bottom of my heart. You are doing amazing things. We support you. We're ready for that construction project to be done. And I am grateful for the work that you're doing.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say, after me then I'll. Look at her. She's excited. I
Don't
wrote
forget
down.
me,
I just
don't
want you to know. I didn't want you to miss. So I wrote your name on there. I put Ian with exclamation points so I don't miss you. So, anyways, I did want to just look across at everybody inside the room and say thank you. Many of the faces that are in this room right now that are possible principals and staff I worked with as a teacher and as a school board member. I've worked with many of you, and I wanted to say thank you. This is an exciting time. Thank you for coming and being a part of this and supporting the individuals that are becoming principals too. We really appreciate what you're about to do and look forward to that leadership. I think the other thing that I'd like to do is I wanted to say yes on the ABC Builders. So here's what happened. So one of the things that Associated Builders and Contractors is they're the largest organization that puts together trades and apprenticeships for the construction programs. And they're an association that all of our builders are a part of. And they talked about trades and trades and trades. And I said to them, I'm sick and tired of hearing about this over and over again. And you guys need to start hiring. You need to start doing some things. So while I was sitting down south, I got a hold of a couple of the contractors, and we put together what will become an operation that they do outside of the district and they're going to recommend, and it's been kind of moving through, but they're going to do it through the Associated Builders and Contractors, where they're going to take our construction schools next year and have them compete against each other so that we can actually have those kind of competitions, which we've never had before. They're going to put together possibly the award ceremony for the competition. They're also going to put together a career day in conjunction with us that brings the kids to see what kind of trades and what they can be a part of outside. We do that for college, but we haven't been able to do that for trades. We also are going to do, they said that they will actively recruit some of their retired people and others to come back into the classroom and start teaching, because we have a deficiency in some of the trades programs. And then also, they said that I want to give a lot of credit to Jonathan Wilkes from Wharton Smith. He's spearheading the effort to bring jobs for internships this summer. So there's a huge opportunity from what we were a part of. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Associated Builders and Contractors. I also wanted to say I was a part of the L3 STEM Challenge here also. Many of the stuff that these kids are doing is amazing. They're putting together 3D models, 3D printed stuff, and magnets and everything else. And the operations that they're doing were very engaging and very exciting. I also wanted to say it's National School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. So today's a big day because many of you guys don't know, but many of the people over here on this side of the room do know that we appreciate our bus drivers a lot. And the reason for that is that if our kids didn't get on that bus and get there, we wouldn't have kids inside of our classrooms. And many of our other school districts sit there and they go to different schedules where one school may have 2 different operations. And it's insane. So kids come at all different. It is what our transportation and our bus drivers have been able to do is anything but short of amazing. I also wanted to say thank you to the Bright Group. Last night we had, I don't know, what do you think, 200 people in there, 300 people in there? There's a lot of people inside there, and it's 10 congregations roughly that are committed to K through 3 specifically, a lot of educational reading, and what we're looking forward to seeing them come out and be a part of it. I challenged them. They wanted us to adopt certain things and everything else, which we're already doing in our district. But I challenged them, which I'm going to challenge everybody from this point forward. We need parents to be a part of what we do. We got to stop saying that it's our schools that need to do everything. Our parents need to take some of the responsibility, and they need to start listening to us say, no, this is partially on you too, and everybody wants to have a meeting and tell us what to do. Well, then also be a part of what we do and volunteer inside of our schools and be a part of it. So we challenged them with that, and they were overwhelmingly excited to be a part of that. I want to say thank you to Ralph Williams for putting together Spirit Week last week. They put on a breakfast for Purple Up Day to honor military students. They had Stars and Stripes, Camo Day. Miss Flickinger had purple bandanas, glasses, and dyed their hair purple. Thank goodness we're working on that policy before they get in trouble. But I did want to say thank you to Ralph Williams for what they did. I'll just let her run around. Just let her run around. It's fine. The other thing I wanted to say is that we have, our adult ed has 3 new pre-apprenticeship programs starting in May for a lot of the kids that are graduating and a lot of the kids that need that opportunity. So if you guys get an opportunity to try to take a look, please go to the apprenticeships. And I got a bunch of other stuff, but you know what?
Yeah.
Miss Hand's looking down there at
Miss
me.
Hand's like-
Go ahead, Miss Hand.
Okay, so just real quickly, thank you, Mr. Susan, for mentioning the L3 Harris STEM Challenge.
Yeah,
I had just a
seems to be
brief
the coolest thing.
opportunity to hang out in the escape room.
They literally said you geeked out.
I did geek out. So this is like a science-based sequential escape room, and my family and friends, we're escape room aficionados, you might say, and I was so impressed with the design of the game and the excitement of the volunteers as well as the staff that supported that event. They were just amazing. So it was truly awesome. And then, Mrs. Wright, thank you for mentioning our folks at Coquina. I'm putting on my facilities hat here. We have been up there more than we should, because those folks have had a really tough year, and just appreciate the grace and flexibility that their staff shows to our team from facilities, and we're trying to put it back so much better than it was before the fire. So thanks for mentioning them, because they really are awesome. But the real reason I wanted to just have a few moments tonight is tomorrow is Administrative Professionals Day.
Yes.
And those are the folks in our organization that no one ever sees, but they totally make our worlds turn. So whether they're out in the schools or they're here at the district office, I know in my office, my world doesn't turn without my administrative team. And I just want to say thank you to those folks who you rarely ever see, but they are the folks that process the bills, that write the contracts, that process permits, that answer the phones. They do everything, and they support our schools, and they support our school district with just great integrity and enthusiasm. And I'm so happy to recognize them tonight, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
That's it. Thank
I
you.
wanted to say thank you, Ms. Han. I think we all appreciate your leadership and guidance over the last couple of weeks. I know you are looking forward to the day that you can get out of there, but we really appreciate everything that you've been doing. You've been a blessing to this district and a blessing to all of the employees that are here and the students and everything else. I just want to take a second and say thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, that brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Ms. Han.
Yes, sir. On this evening's agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 34 consent items, 1 public hearing, 3 action items, and 1 information item. Changes made to the agenda since release to the public include the addition of F10 student expulsions and revisions to A7 administrative staff recommendations, F32 Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School construction management services, and H45 procurement solicitations.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. Ms. Han, would you please let us know about the administrative staff recommendations?
Yes, sir. Mr. Susan and members of the board, there are 14 items for your consideration.
Move to approve? Second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes 5-0. Ms. Han.
Yes, sir. So just before I introduce our new principals, I would like to say that I had an opportunity to be on the interview committee, the final interview committee for our new principals, and I was so impressed with all of you. Many of you I'd never met before in my role as facilities. Some of you I have, but most of you hadn't. And I'm just so encouraged by the future of our district as a result of your upcoming work, and I'm very proud for all of you, and I'm very excited for all of you. I think you're going to be just amazing principals. So thank you for stepping up in a leadership role for Brevard Public Schools. You're going to make us stronger and better with your leadership. So with that, I want to introduce first Andy Pazinski, reclassed
Say
from...
that right?
Probably not. Let me try again. Andy Papsinski. Did I nail it? Okay.
There we go, there we
All
go.
right. Reclassed from assistant principal at Space Coast Junior Senior High School to the position of principal at Kennedy Middle. Congratulations.
Thank you, members of the board, Ms. Han. I also want to thank the directors, wherever they're hiding, Ms. Bowman, Ms. Vega, Ms. Weibelt, hey over there, Dr. Sullivan. Thank you guys for trusting me in this process and helping me grow to be a leader that I am today. I also want to give a shout out to some other leaders that helped develop me along the way. Jeremy Solomon, Bert Clark, we've got Terry Kalaga, who's not here, retired from us as well. Mike Alba through the process, Joe Flora, James Raymer. Thank you all for helping me grow to be the leader that I am here to take over Kennedy as well. To my Space Coast family, the last 3 years have been an absolute blast. I love every single one of you. A lot of good memories, and I know that school's in good hands with Mr. Flora. So the biggest shout out goes to my family here. I have Amy, Adeline, and Piper. The girls are products here of Brevard Public Schools. Amy's also a teacher at Suntree. You guys are my biggest supporters and my biggest cheerleaders. So thank you very much. I love you. With that being said, I'm very much looking forward to taking the next step in my journey and becoming the principal of Kennedy Middle School.
Next, I'd like to introduce Keith Barton. Keith is moving from assistant principal at Melbourne High School to the position of principal at O'Galley High School. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. First thing, I'd like to thank God, because without him, I wouldn't be here tonight.
Amen.
So I'd like to thank my wife, who's put up with me for this journey, the many people that have helped me get here, Lena Weibelt, John Thomas, he had me promise to mention him tonight, Molly Vega, Tim Cool, Melissa Katekis, all those people played a great part in me becoming a principal. I come from a different background. I used to work for Sue Han and when I was working in Palm Bay. So it's an honor and blessing to be here. I want to thank the Eau Gallie administrative staff for coming out tonight. That means a lot to have their support going forward. I'm excited about the opportunities that are ahead of me and look forward to moving from a bulldog to a Commodore.
All right.
And next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Paloma Ferreira. She is coming from assistant principal at Satellite High School to the position of principal at Hoover Middle School. Congratulations.
Members of the board and Mrs. Hunt, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to serve Hoover Middle School community. I am excited and ready to go. But before I transition from Satellite High School, I would like to share my gratitude for Mr. Pruitt, the faculty and staff at Satellite. I'm going to miss working with them very much. And the road leading to Hoover Middle School included dedication and love for helping students. In the process, I had amazing mentors. To name a few, I'd like to thank Dr. Sullivan and Mrs. Vega for always supporting me in my administrative career. During my principal in preparation program, I had the opportunity to be mentored by Mrs. McNutt and Dr. Kirk, and I would like to recognize their support as well. Finally, I want to recognize my family watching at home and my husband Michael and my son Mason here tonight. Thank you for always believing in me and helping me improve every day. Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce Tina Susan, who is moving from principal at Jackson Middle to principal at Delora Middle. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Aaron. I'm very excited about my move from Jackson to Delora, but it's bittersweet. I've spent a long time in Titusville, 8 years serving in the community of Titusville, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I do want to say thank you to the entire community for supporting me for the 8 years that I've been there. I do look forward to going to Delora. I was there for 8 years previously in my career. I taught there and I was the assistant principal there. So that's where I got my start in administration. So I'm looking forward to new opportunities. Go Scotties!
Next, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Shockley, who is coming from assistant principal at McNair Magnet Middle to the position of principal at Jackson Middle. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Han, members of the board, for this opportunity. I'm very grateful. I've spent my whole career in Brevard Public Schools, and so there are way too many administrators, district leaders that I have had the opportunity to work with, to learn from through their mentorship. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I'd like to thank my family and friends for all their love and support. I am truly going to miss my McNair family, Doc and his leadership, and all of our great families and staff there. But I'm so excited to go to Jackson. I was there previously, and so it'll be like going home back to being a Jackson General, and I can't wait to start there. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Next, I'd like to introduce Stephen Link. Stephen is currently serving as the interim principal at Heritage High, and he has been selected as their principal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Ms. Han. Thank you to the board. A lot of people to thank. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan, for trusting me with this opportunity. To Ms. Vega, Ms. Weibelt, Ms. Bowman for answering all my soon-to-be many phone calls with questions. Thank you to Mr. Tuttle for giving me the opportunity to become a teacher and an educator to begin with. When I decided to take the leap from engineering to education, people thought I was crazy, including my wonderful father here, but it seemed to work out well. I'd like to thank Sarah Robinson and Dr. Rendell for helping me grow as a leader and just learning what different leadership styles look like and how to run a school. Thank you to Dr. Harris for his countless growth opportunities he provided me. Truly, he has provided me with all the tools to be successful in this role. As I mentioned, my dad is probably the greatest mentor I could ever imagine. I could go on and on and on.
as Cocoa Beach and Viera can attest to, whenever I leave a school, they say, we're sorry to lose you, but we're more sorry to lose your father for all that he does. So I'm happy to bring him with me to Heritage as well. To my beautiful wife back there with a crying baby and my 3 other wonderful boys who are loud and awesome. I just thank you for their support, especially over the last few weeks as I've pulled a couple jobs going on. And most importantly, other than my wife, to the Heritage staff, community, teachers, students, everybody there, I'm so, so grateful for this opportunity. I look forward to leading the school into the next journey. Heritage is my home, and I'm so excited to lead us there. So thank you very much. Go Big Blue.
Next, I'd like to introduce Melissa Long, who is coming from assistant principal at Lockmar Elementary to the position of principal at Cape View Elementary. Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Hahn, and members of the board, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to serve the community of Cape View Elementary. And I'd like to thank my husband and my family that's all here, my friends, and a special thank you to my current principal, and happy birthday, coming out to celebrate me on her special day. So thank you, Mrs. Campione. Many leaders and mentors through my time in Bavard, and I'd like to thank them for continuing to believe in me. And Mrs. Klein, thank you. Thank you so much.
And next, I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Coverdale, who's being appointed as the position of acting principal at Gulfview Elementary. Congratulations.
Well, I hope I'm no longer going to be the acting principal at Gulf. But to the members of the board and to Sue, thank you so much for your trust and faith in me to assume this position as the head of this wonderful school. I see several members of the passionate staff and faculty here who work so hard for that community and for those kids there. And it goes without saying that they really love those kids and they really love that community. To my wonderful wife, who is my biggest cheerleader and my biggest fan, thank you so much for all of these years. She recently retired from Brevard Public Schools, and now she's volunteering to go back in at Endeavor. So thank you for your support, and your love and faith in me. And I too have way too many folks that I would have to thank, but thank you to Tara, thank you to Dr. Ivory, and to so many others here who have spent the time and the effort helping groom me for this position now. I thank you so much, and go Bobcats.
Congratulations. And next, I'd like to introduce Cherie Cochran, who is being reclassified from assistant principal at Saturn Elementary to the position of interim principal at Mims Elementary School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Han, and to the board, and to Ms. Klein, and all the elementary leading and learning directors who have poured into me their wonderful knowledge to prepare me for the task I'm about to take on. Tonight I have with me my mom, my dad, my sister, my wonderful 3 children, and my very supportive husband who now realizes what it means to be an administrator. To Ms. McClooney and Ms. Hurst, we've had some great times together, and I will miss you very much, and thank you for all the growth opportunities you've given me and the friendship that will last forever. To Mr. Alfonso, I cannot wait until we get started together and do great things at MIMS, and I cannot wait to serve the North area again. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Hill Brodigan, who is coming from assistant principal at Ocean Breeze Elementary to the position of principal at Roosevelt Elementary. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, board members. I'm so excited for this opportunity. Mr. Trent, I look forward to working with you directly in Cocoa Beach. I appreciate Mrs. Klein and all of her support over these years. Thank you so much, Mrs. Klein. Rachel Roberts and Tara Harris for being my cheerleaders this year, so thank you so much for that. Really excited for my Ocean Breeze family that I've worked with the last 8 years. It's been a wonderful experience, and I greatly appreciate them. My principal, Shelley, thank you so much for all the growth opportunities and for being my friend. Appreciate that. And my new Roosevelt family, Roxanne, I'm so looking forward to working with you, and she gave me a great T-shirt already for the new Roosevelt, the new Roosevelt team. So I'm so excited. I can't imagine all these new Roosevelt people that I'm excited to meet. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting me. It really means a lot to me. My family and my friends, thank you so much. My 2 boys, also Brevard Schools students. My husband, Dave, who's also a teacher here in Brevard County. My mother and father, who are always my biggest cheerleaders and also making all my dreams come true. My family from New York, my sisters, everybody's here today for this special occasion. So thank you all so much. It has been a long ride, and it's going to be a great experience. Thank you so, so much.
Next, I'd like to introduce Kelly Grugan. Kelly is coming from the position of assistant principal at Gardendale Separate Day School to the position of principal at Roy Allen Elementary. But before you talk, Ms. Grugan, I just have to say a few words about Ms. Grugan. Had an opportunity to visit Gardendale. You can stand up. To visit Gardendale on several occasions, and I have witnessed Ms. Grugan's heart and love for our kids and our community firsthand. And I just want to say I so admire you and appreciate what you do for our students. So congratulations.
Well, whatever I was going to say is out the window because that was very emotional, but thank you. So thank you, Ms. Han and the board for this opportunity. I'm very excited. It has been a great year. I want to thank Ms. Klein and the panel for selecting me for this position. I want to thank my family, who this year has really stepped up to support me. And without them, I wouldn't be here. So I have my husband, who's a teacher, and I have my daughter and my son and my mom's here, and there's some YouTubers here they're watching me, and I have some great friends, and I have a fan club that came. I want to thank, there's so many administrators that helped me get here, and I'm already failing Ms. Klein's task of talking for 1 minute, so I'm going to hurry, but I'm not going to mention all of them, but they were the foundation that I needed to be where I am today. I have to thank Ms. Bland for the opportunity this year, and my Gardendale Warriors, because it has been an honor and a privilege to work alongside you this year. And when I mean alongside you, we held hands and we got through this. Ms. Bland, I have never met anybody with the conviction and advocacy that you have for kids who have no voices. And I commend you, and I know our kids will be in good hands because of you. So thank you for all you do for those students. And I'm forgetting something, but thank you so much. And I just have to say, to the rookie class of 2023 principals, we look pretty good.
Okay, and batting cleanup on our principal roster tonight is Ms. Kraus. So Ms. Kraus is moving from assistant principal boy, I blew it. Sorry, let me start again. From position of assistant principal at Atlantis Elementary, that is harder to say than you think, to the position of principal at Sunrise Elementary. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be in this spot. It's so hard to follow you up, Kelly. I'd like to thank the board and Ms. Han for this opportunity, along with Ms. Klein and the team. Thank you for following me from the beginning of my career to now. My family that is here with me tonight, along with my, toddler, and my toddler Menger, my mother-in-law over there. Just thank you so much for supporting me. It's not an easy task to be an educator supporter, especially within the family. My Atlantis family who come tonight, I'm so good because of them. We have worked so well together, and thank you, Jennifer, for being there for me. I am so excited to join the Sunrise family. I can't wait to start with you, and Miss Joss, thank you so much for coming and giving me warm hugs. make this transition so smooth. And I always thought about what I would really say when I got up here. My biggest supporter since day one that Debbie Pringle called Mr. Brown to say, hey, I've got a girl for you. She'll work really well in 3rd grade. Mr. Brown has followed me every step of the way, and I am a better leader because I got to watch you lead. So thank you, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I know I'll do you proud, I promise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Russ, you want to get a picture of all of them together because there's so many of them?
Freshman class.
I mean, it's like the freshman class. I like the idea.
Yeah, I love it.
Let's get one. Can you get your camera? All right, yeah, if all the principals come up here so we can get a picture with you guys, that'd be great. Come on.
Even the experienced ones, Miss Susan, you too.
All right, Mike, we're ready to come back when you are.
We are live.
We are now at the public comment portion of the meeting. We have 16 number of speakers, and each will receive 3 minutes. I will call up 3 speakers at a time. The first 3 speakers are Christopher Adams, Bernard Bryan, Elizabeth Mkhitaryan.
Who's the first one? What's the first one? Christopher
Adams.
Okay.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir.
Good to go.
My name is Christopher Robin Adams. I'm a poet, parent, English teacher, and taxpayer. I'm here to talk about books with those who seek learning for children. I want to save our children, not from guns that smear blood and brain matter on the floor, but from the insidious danger of insufficient material to help minds grow and personalities strengthen. You see, parents of our students and teachers in loco parentis always have this question, what do we teach? Brevard gives class state-vetted textbooks, but every teacher knows that textbooks provide information, they do not provide incentives to read. DOE knows this, but they will not tell us what other source to use to improve student minds and inspire them to seek more. Well, teachers and media personnel know what to use, books. We need books in the classroom of our schools. I recall an elementary school getting an A because they had a print-rich school with buckets of books by every front door. My classrooms at Central and O'Galley each contained some 1,200 books, bought from garage sales and thrift stores, purchased from Scholastic Control, and solicited from the community. Any student could take a book. Books weren't alphabetized because studies show students will find more books if books are not in order. Students will find unexpected books, picture books, chapter books, novels, graphic novels, history books, and books recommended by friends. Yes, I kept books aside for low-interest readers who would ask me to suggest a book. Students know that self-chosen books are the best reads, and if they self-choose, their reading levels increase quickly. Limiting book choice limits students' reading range, thinking, and exploring. District pre- and post-test showed my students' reading levels jumped 1.6 grade levels each year. My remedial students' reading levels leaped 4 to 5 years. Our free public education and free libraries for all give our nation preeminence in the world. It stands to reason we should maintain that and allow media personnel and teachers to stuff our rooms with books. We're not doing that in Brevard. Instead, we're pulling libraries and hiding books. I stopped teaching in Brevard when told any book not stamped Brevard County could not be in my room. After 70 years of reading and 27 years teaching, I was no longer trusted to bring books to class that I knew would help my students' minds. One school threw out 400 of my books. To prevent this from happening again, I took 30 cases of books to my granddaughter's school in South Carolina, and they said thank you. As a National Board certified middle school language arts teacher, I was paid a $50,000 bonus to improve student learning. Further, the district paid another $1,000 for me to attend a 4-week National Writing Project seminar, which showed me how to use picture books to inspire secondary school students. I read poems and novels to my students every day before instruction. They wrote to authors, and authors wrote back, and I couldn't have done this without books. With DOE, I helped create the state reading test for 9th graders. I presented reading programs for the Florida Reading Association, the Florida Council of Teachers, and the Florida English Journal. We know the world past high school is challenging, and if we don't prepare students to face it, we fail the sole reason for building in position.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
We don't have teachers willing and able to use them.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Appreciate the time. Mr. Bernard Bryan.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to see you all again, and I want to thank Ms. Hands and this board for allowing me to speak before you again. First of all, I want to say thank you to this team for your presence at the Bright meeting on yesterday, and thank you for making a pact with those 8 churches, and I really, really appreciate that. And I want to say thank you for listening to our communities as we discuss the reading and actual math gaps. So thank you for listening to us. So we really appreciate that. But I just want to also thank Mrs. Klein as well as Dr. Sullivan for really accepting the challenge of looking at science of reading. And we believe that's going to be a tremendous impact on our children's proficiency level. So thank you so much. So I also would like to bring up to you, I had an opportunity to look at the MOU that was presented in your minutes. And one of the things I'm concerned about is the $554,000 that's going to be paid towards security. And when I studied that, it looked like all of that $500,000 is going to be going to overhead. So if you can reconsider that, and I think it would add a little bit more proficiency if we don't overload overhead, which is not going to give you the overall coverage in terms of security that I think can help our schools. And I also would like to just make a comment. I had an opportunity to review your discipline audit that was presented. And just a couple of things that I saw 4 red flags. And I hope this team will really look at those red flags. One of the red flags was discipline governance. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well. Another one of the red flags that was presented, it was formalizing mentoring. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity as well. And the third thing was that we automate the discipline system. And I think that will help the discipline process as well. And then lastly, they brought up data accuracy. There were some fields in the report that said a lot of fields were actually missing. So I hope that this team will take those red flags, implement those process recommendations so that our disciplinary process can be very consistent across all schools. And then lastly, I would like to say that I am in favor of renaming Stone Gym to Miss Ruby Mae Jackson. I've had a chance to meet her family, and based on what I've learned about her, she's done a tremendous job at Stone Middle School. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. You can go back to the back and find out how that application process works and put it in. You're welcome. Have a good day.
Good evening, Liz Mkhitaryan from Titusville, retired BPS kindergarten teacher and founder of Stop Moms for Liberty National Movement. First, I'm here to offer my personal apologies to all of the citizens of Brevard, because apparently discipline is all my fault. Mr. Trent, in a public meeting, stated if kindergarten teachers had just done their jobs, we wouldn't have discipline issues. So on behalf of all of our kindergarten teachers, I am requesting a public apology this evening. My reason for coming tonight is to express my dismay at several of the things that have unfolded over the past few months. Our superintendent forced to resign at the very first meeting of a very untrained school board majority. Therefore, a new superintendent is needed. One candidate in the pool has raised some serious red flags. Mark Rendell, who is one of your 4 finalists, has very strong connections with Tiffany Justice, the founder of the radical group, Moms of Liberty. She was his champion in Indian River County. We also see Moms of America, another radical group, seeming to have unfettered access to you board members. Moms for America has even done an official endorsement of Dr. Rendell. The leader of Moms for Liberty, Katie Delaney, was very involved during the election, and now she runs from one board member to the other during business hours. And I suggest that Mr. Gibbs take a look at those issues. And we have photographs of her having dinner with more than one board member at a time. And we have some really strict concerns about that. People have now seen the close collaboration with 2 radical groups, and we don't like it. Radical is not my word, by the way. I come to my final and most egregious concern, as I have been a part of BPS for almost 3 decades. People know and trust me, so they contact me. It has been disclosed that both in the community and within the school system, Mr. Trent is saying when Rendell becomes the superintendent, as if it's already a done deal. There is no coming back from that statement, so I petition you tonight to remove Dr. Mark Rendell from your pool of finalists. I'm inspired by Katie Delaney's Fox News interview stating that any controversy should be reason for removal of a candidate. Looks like that might have worked. I think most citizens would agree that we have controversy when it comes to one of your other candidates. So 2 things I ask of you. Remove Dr. Rendell from your final pool of candidates to avoid the public perception that this has all been rigged from the beginning.
Thank you, Ms.
And I am
Mkhitaryan.
asking,
Thank you, Ms. Mkhitaryan. Appreciate your time. Natalie Twine, it's 3 minutes. No, there was no time left on the clock. It beeped. Ms. Twine, Natalie Twine, please. You're up next. Alyssa Young, Mrs. Mkhitaryan. No. I mean, the time was up. Thank you. Ms. Twine, Alyssa Young, Jessica Boyko, please.
Matt,
Thank you.
Matt, you gotta not let them say.
I cut off everybody. Thank you.
Okay, you can't let them say candidates' names.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Natalie Twine. I'm a Brevard County resident and parent of 2 BPS graduates.
There you go.
Sorry, thank you. Last November, the board voted to change the prior restroom locker room guidance. The actions of this board resulted in merely a symbolic policy. By creating an illusion of control and safety, this board dodged answering critical questions. Make no mistakes, the motivation and intent of this policy is to target transgender and non-binary individuals. But to understand this requires emotional intelligence, which is lacking here. My daughter is a biological female. For 23 years, she has consistently been misgendered because some don't think she is feminine enough. In middle school, she attempted to use the girls' bathroom. A teacher physically stopped her from entering and required her to use the boys' room. This is an example of gender policing, which utilizes the concept of gender expression and identity. Every time a student is misgendered, pronouns and a gender identity are forced on that child, which directly conflicts with biological sex and violates my parental rights. I'm sure no one on this board will have problems being able to prove their biological sex, because now, under the proposed state legislation, anyone, including a student, can challenge you and deny you access to a public restroom. Surely you will agree, if you can't prove your sex, no student should have to prove theirs. Lawmakers want you to believe this is a simple task, but law reviews that came out in November of 2020 clearly outlines it is not. Even our state doesn't have a protocol to address challenges. Birth certificates aren't reliable. In many states, including Florida, for the moment, sex markers can be changed. Some states offer a non-binary option. Sex testing and using biology to determine biological sex was used in the 1968 Olympics. History has shown these methods lack specificity, sensitivity, violate human rights, infringes on privacy, is impractical to implement, and costly. Basing policies on unsubstantiated threats of the imaginary boogeyman to protect women is not right. In fact, perpetrators of violence against women are overwhelmingly straight, white, biological, presenting as male, that will now use this policy to assault women and gender nonconforming individuals. Just like recently, that a man threatened my daughter with violence, that if she were ever to enter a woman's bathroom looking like a man, that she could expect a fist fight. For simply trying to use a bathroom, individuals like my daughter face the constant threat of verbal and physical abuse. I pray that you never experience the humiliation, fear, and threat of violence emboldened by these policies.
Thank you, Ms. Twine. Alyssa Young, Jessica Boyko, Diana Haynes. Sorry.
Hello, am I using this? Okay, I am using this right. I've never done this before. My name is Alicia, and I'm a 5th grade student at Century Elementary School. I am here to ask you to include us in the new middle school. We want to go to the new middle school because, number one, we've been told our whole lives that we would be able to go to said middle school. Number two, we want to go to a middle school and high school with our friends that we've known for very long. Number three, the middle school is closer to home. We don't want to spend forever on the bus in an emergency. Our parents can come get us faster too. I hope that me coming here has given you an idea of what the students of Century want. Thank you.
She's done.
Clock.
I got you.
Hi. I hope you guys can understand how very difficult it was for Alyssa to come here and speak to you today, but it is something that she is very passionate about. 2 weeks ago, I stood here and asked you to consider the facts when voting on the new zoning for the middle school. Part of me wants to come up here and give you numbers about how much money has come out of our schools, out of our property taxes for the school system, about how much time our students will spend on the bus every day, how long it takes for us to get to the school in case of an emergency, about how we really don't know how many students are going to be moving into the new areas. But you have all of those facts. I could tell you about the number of people who have come up to me in the last 2 weeks to tell me how poorly my daughter will be treated at Delora, how students and others will treat her just because she's different. I can tell you about how the numbers of parents I've talked to over the last couple of weeks have talked about their plans, making alternatives to Delora and Jackson and Kennedy, just in case. Vieira Charter School and Brevard Virtual have been passed around a great many times in the last couple of weeks, and some of us have even gotten together to talk about a coalition in order to homeschool our students over the next 2 years. Instead, I've come to tell you that thanks to HB1, we have the power to decide where our children go. I know that right now, the vote to include zones 1, 2, and 3 is hanging by a thread, and that you can change your minds at any time between now and then. But it is my sincerest hope that you will vote to include these students in the new middle school. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Boyko. Diana Haynes, John Curvin, Samantha Curvin, please.
Hi, good evening. I understand that school boards and school board races are supposed to be nonpartisan, non-political events. But we live in the real world, and because of that, many of you have used your political affiliations to get elected or to stay in office. We're going to hold you accountable because of these affiliations. Ms. Campbell, you have professed to be a devout Christian and a Republican. Mr. Susan allegedly is told you have aspirations to run for higher office. After many years of being a Democrat, you decided to become a Republican, so I am sure that you adhere to the Republican philosophies. Ms. Wright stood next to our Republican governor and accepted his platform and endorsements, so we can assume rightfully so that you are a Republican and you hold dear the same philosophies and values of the Republican Party. The same goes for Mr. Trent. So you can probably understand my confusion at the ruling. The majority of the board has betrayed themselves as Republicans with a hint of conservatism, and I'm confused because your interim superintendent was a staunch Democrat who has democratic philosophies and policies, which directly conflict what you have sold the public as to what your positions are. I also have to ask how the superintendent who is now withdrawn Mr. Stratton made our short list. He is also a staunch Republican or Democrat. And I would refer to him in the future as Mullins 2.0. Because if you look at his policies and his procedures and everything else that has to do with Mr. Stratton, he was mirroring the exact same agenda that was going on with the previous administration and superintendent. So I have to ask you, what is your vetting policy? Because we have also looked at the other 3 candidates, and there is some questionable events concerning some of them. So you've got a man who had the most egregious, outrageous event go on in his county, and you put him on the short list to be our superintendent here. I have to question so much of what is going on with this board and the people who you have hired to vet these individuals, and why he wasn't removed by you all. The minute you heard of what went on in that county and you did your due diligence or had your people do it, you should have come forward to the public and made an announcement and said, we are going to request that Mr. Stratton step down from this offer that we're making. So I would hope in the future that you would reconsider how you vet individuals for positions that are going to affect every student, every parent, every individual in this school system. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Just so that everybody understands, Mr. Stratton withdrew from the actual application process, so that's official. So just wanted to let everybody know in the event that they came here to speak to that topic. Mr. Kervin.
Good evening to the board, acting superintendent, and to everybody that's here physically and virtually here as well. My name is John Kervin. I'm going to read from my notes so I don't mess some words up. I'm retired Army. I'm an alumni of the Brevard County School System. And I'd like you all to hear a viewpoint of my own based off of your workshop commentary on homework, okay? I heard some very differences of opinions and whatnot, and I'd like to give you guys a viewpoint of it. I know you guys are holding another workshop to finish that agenda off, so. For those of you guys that don't know, throughout my education career from 2nd to 12th grade, I was always bored in the class. I paid attention in class, even when everybody thought that I wasn't paying attention. I tested well, I hated homework, and I thought that school was a complete waste of my time. Lost my spot. I participated in participated in the classroom, how and when was required. Homework was just busy work to me. Okay, through my military service, one of the most important things I learned was that you train as you fight. I learned that through my college career, I learned that my ideal learning environment existed. One without required homework, where testing your understanding was what mattered. We expect adults to have learned how to make educated decisions after completing high school. We need to focus more on how we're inspiring our students to want to know about the subjects we expect them to learn. Homework should be given under an optional basis with a week's worth at once. This allows the students to decide if they think they need more fortification in that subject or less fortification in the subject. Consistent testing on knowledge should be done monthly at least for data collection on the effectiveness of our teaching strategies and our system. I think this is how we can facilitate our students to grow in decision making. And thank you very much for your time, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kervin. Ms. Samantha Kervin, Paul Raub, Kelly Kervin.
Okay, y'all can hear me just fine. Okay, so let's just get this started. Jean Trent and Megan Wright. So I am here to request, actually, I'll rephrase that. I'm here to demand an apology publicly to the dyslexic community for your disrespect, not only to people who have difficulty learning, but also to me. But when I stood up here and told my story about dyslexia and the challenges that I face and my worries for the next generations of students upon students who are basically set up to fail, Megan, you laughed at Jean Trent. Jean Trent, you tried gouging your eye out and were caught on the microphone making a comment. And made a comment to Miss Wright, who then proceeded to laugh, obviously. After this, and it was more known to the public, Miss Bethany, which was not to my knowledge, but she sent out an email to most of you demanding an apology for it. And Miss Wright, you said, and I quote, "Just to be clear, I was not laughing at the child. I was laughing at Trent, who has made a comment about me." that's laughing at me. You can shake your head, but it's laughing at me. A 14-year-old should not have to tell you how to act. That's your job, to act like an adult. And Mr. Sousa, today at the workshop, you made a comment about the school's workbooks, I believe it was, how all that, and you made a comment during it that said the first week and a half of school is teaching where the bathrooms are and how to write their names on paper. I take a lot of offense to that. I think I know how to write my name on my paper. I kind of learned how to do that when I was younger. I know what I'm doing. It's just kind of inappropriate. It made you kind of look like a jerk in front of a lot of people, which is not great for your image. And yeah, thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you, Ms. Curvin. Appreciate you coming out. Paul Raub, Kelly Curvin, and then Gary Ross, please.
So, an analogy, hypothetical. There's a discipline committee, as we all well know. Imagine that around the topic of discipline, there was a group who were vocally at every meeting referring to any behavior that bothered them as murder. Obviously, murder is not a problem in the schools, but they're just going to keep yelling about murder. Dress code violations, murder. Swearing on campus, murder. Wearing a mullet, murder. Sorry. Anyway, at every meeting, demanding why we're not doing something about all this murder that we're allowing in our schools around our children. And the fact that we already have plenty of laws against murder, and it's not actually allowed in the schools already, and it isn't, in fact, happening in our schools, doesn't dissuade them in the least. Would you take them seriously? Would you want them influencing policy? Would you want their concerns about this imaginary murder to take precedence over all the other parents and their children and actual concerns? Hopefully not. But in the world of books, it's kind of where we're at. Phrase I don't like, a book I don't like, something with uncomfortable material, it's pornography. Everything's pornography. We're going to yell about pornography around the children. Again, are there already laws against it? Yeah, there definitely are. Is it allowed in the schools? God, no. Does anybody want it in the schools? No, but we're going to keep yelling that. It grabs headlines, and it makes people seem, what's wrong with these people on the other side who want pornography in our schools? Again, all the adults in the room know nobody actually wants that. But I gotta say, I was a little surprised when I was here last time. I talked about that the book review committee, which had been paused and is now coming back. The books that had originally been challenged had been pulled, presumably waiting for the new book review policy, which is going to make it much easier to get books off the shelves and keep them. And of course, 2 new more incoming members on the committee who would conceivably be much friendlier, we expect to be much friendlier to the point of view of the challenger. Did not expect the challenger and high-ranking person in the group I was referring to become a member of the committee. I mean, I will say, in terms of brass, that's impressive. I guess it's good that we're saying the quiet part out loud. I don't know, but you don't have to be part of the problem. There's problems at the state level. You can't fix everything, but we don't have to be part of the problem. Brevard schools don't have to be a punchline. Thank you.
Kelly Curvin. On deck, Gary Ross, Katie Delaney.
So I had a speech prepared. I might go over. Megan, she's 14. Be respectful. That's all she's asking. For those who don't know, I let Samantha write her own speeches. She picks her own topic. She picks what she cares about. She's not going to be gaslit into believing she didn't see what everybody on YouTube also saw. So either be quiet or apologize, but pick one. But shaking your hat at her while she stands up here as a 14-year-old, which she's already terrified of being up here as it is just not okay. And ironically enough, my speech is about you today. I watched in horror last week as you made a charge against our teachers and students yet again, this time voting against loving guidance. I understand that there is a philosophy where we can educate our students on math, English, history, and science only. But that's a fallacy. We can't ignore the health and well-being of the whole child. Taking loving guidance away from our educators doesn't stop their students from melting down, but it does give them less tools to help their students. Today I watched her lack of preparedness and understanding about how funding works. You should know the difference between Title II and Title IV funding, and if you don't, you should be asking our staff long before she sits up here and looks inept. A few weeks ago, a popular news and discussion-based website, a woman posted asking for advice about moving to Melbourne. The thread gained over 100 comments, and several comments were made about BPS. I'm going to read a couple. The Brevard school system used to be great, but our school board got rid of an awesome superintendent, and they are rapidly destroying our schools. A school board member, Jean Trent, said, "We are a conservative area, and others can move." We moved to Melbourne for work in 2019. We moved away 3 months ago. We loved it, but we couldn't risk our kids in those schools. People are correct about the school board being problematic. It wasn't too bad before, but 2 new folks came in and are barely literate. And they just show whatever extremist line is the most vile base they can come up with, and they can't even explain or discuss why they're voting for the destructive things that they're voting for. They're the most ignorant and racist people I've ever seen. To be clear, these aren't people in the room. These are Brevard County residents who you will never hear from, and you will never hear come here and speak to you. But they talk to their friends, their family, their neighbors, their coworkers at Little League fields, bingo halls, and who become very vocal telling people not to move to Brevard County. Our community supports our schools, our administrators, our teachers, our staff, our bus drivers, but our community as a whole doesn't support this board. They could have, despite the divisive election cycle, despite the hate and vitriol, but again, Megan Wright took the first shot against our students, teachers, and staff by leading the charge to fire Dr. Mark Mullins, the superintendent the community actively supported. And Matt, I know this is super petty. I was listening to the workshop earlier. It's not Miss Cody, it's Dr. Cody, and just please be respectful to our staff and their titles. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kervin. Next up, Gary Ross, Katie Delaney, Sarah Mursky.
Good evening, Board. My name is Gregory Ross. I'm a Palm Bay resident. Thank you for allowing public comment during this meeting, even though I see some of you can't handle public comment, obviously. I'm here to speak to this board about your words and your actions and your responsibility to all the citizens of Brevard County. Not just the electorate, not just those who vote, and not just those persons who shout the loudest. We already heard one story tonight from Ms. Micheltarian about some alleged sunshine law violations and the way it's being done. So the topic really seems to be corruption to a degree, right? So let's start with you, Mr. Susan. At the last board meeting, the very first speaker in public comment rose up and spoke in favor of expanding the boundaries of the new Vieira East Middle School. His points in favor of changing the boundaries ran against the recommendations of BPS staff who have been down the road before and have shown they make recommendations only after doing their due diligence. For the record, I'm not for or against those boundary changes. I think that's a good discussion to have, and I appreciate that the board's having that discussion. My issue is, at first listen, this speaker's comments seemed reasoned and legitimate, but sounded very familiar. Imagine my surprise when I discovered from whom I had heard those comments before. From you, Mr. Susan, and at the previous school board workshop, pushing for the change in boundaries using the very same wording, terminology, and reasoning. A little more digging revealed that the speaker parroting your words exactly 2 weeks later was known to you, Mr. Susan. Not only is he known to you, but he appears to be a close business associate who works in the same office suite as you do, Mr. Susan. He also appears to be a close friend of yours as well, based upon social media posts. Now, was this a coincidence? There is certainly nothing wrong with this concerned citizen speaking about the school boundaries. That is his right. What is concerning is the apparent lack of respect for the rest of the board and members of the county when you don't make clear that not only is this person well known to you, but that he is parroting the very phrases that you used prior in time. Are we to assume that this is a mere coincidence? In reality, it reeks of corruption. Not huge corruption, but the kind of corruption that is part of the history of Brevard County. And perhaps you cannot see because you have been raised in that corruption until it becomes part of your regular business. Please do better. With the time I have left, I just want to address one more thing. Ms. Campbell, you gave a really nice speech last school board meeting after you guys passed the, what I'm going to refer to as the book banning policy, right? And I don't disagree with anything you said. I just want to point out that every time we have this discussion, nobody talks about the Miller test and that prong 3 every single time. That needs to be part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Next up, Katie Delaney, Sarah Mirsky, and Renee Salmon.
All right, I guess we get to bring up members of the public's name now. I want to say thank you to Mr. Stratton for doing the right thing and stepping away. There's a lot of trouble going on in his district, and it was the right move for him, so I appreciate that. As far as book banning goes, nobody is banning books. They are putting books that are inappropriate for children out of children's hands. If you would like to give your child that book, you could do so. Just like when we were talking about the cell phone debate. Quote unquote, every child has a cell phone and can access anything. So there is not an equity issue. I wish that people would use their influence for good. Yeah. Because one thing that I know that I've been speaking about the past 3 years is we need to focus on safe schools. We need to focus on our discipline issues. We need to focus on the culture in this community and in our schools. Because frankly, Ms. Jenkins, teachers and staff don't trust you enough to protect them to come forward when things go on in the classroom, when things go on in their schools. Those are the things we need to be focusing on. Not porn in our classrooms. Yes, it is. It is.
Ms. Delaney,
It
if you'll
Absolutely, it's porn.
comments this way.
A Virginia court said that the book Genderqueer and a court, I forget what the second title is. I think it's in the series of the Court of Mist and Fury. Both are obscene. So those are just 2 books. When I brought numerous titles to our sheriff, he agreed that these books violated. It's just that the obscenity laws are so vague that they needed to be fixed because there is no clear definition. There is no definition for pornography, a legal definition for pornography.
Thank you, Ms. Delaney.
No, there's not.
Thank you for coming out. Sarah Mirsky, Renee Salomon, and Richard Weber.
Good evening, Chairman and Board. My name is Sarah Mirsky, and I'm a wife, mother of 2 children in Brevard Public Schools. I'm a college student myself, but most importantly, I have a holistic interest in seeing this district become successful, be successful, and be even more successful. Tonight, I'd like to bring up a couple of issues that I have are of concern for me as well as many other parents in Brevard County. First, I want to appreciate the board by taking a second look at conscious discipline. I had my concerns a couple of years ago that were dismissed by the previous board, but someone who is going into the mental health field, I wanted to know if those teaching this curriculum were licensed mental health professionals, and what were they teaching, especially with trauma-informed care, because that's an actually very difficult realm of mental health care that people specialize in and go to years of school for. I went to the Conscious Discipline website, and the person acknowledges Erickson, Maslow, Bandura, and also Piaget, which are all phenomenal theorists in the mental health world that have really progressed our practice. However, there's no citations and no references to their peer-reviewed work. So that has me very concerned about that. Other than that, I do think things that Conscious Discipline does, such as mindfulness and the box breathing, are excellent resources for children and for adults to be teaching children. My other concern is that the discipline issue and the discipline audit. Why was there not a licensed behavioralist or a licensed mental health worker giving advice or helping this district come up with what to do with the discipline issue? The other major issue that we're all dealing with right now is the superintendent search. I just really, there's a reason why we had an election. It was to get a school board that the voters wanted. And please, I understand that I actually disagree with some of the speakers tonight. I do think it should be a bipartisan issue because that serves every student with excellence as a standard. But please hire a superintendent that listens to the board and takes the direction of this board and the district where the board wants it to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mursky. Next up, Renee Salmon, Richard Weber.
Hi, good evening. My name is Renee Salomon. I'm here on behalf of the little guys over in Vieira East, areas 1 and 2. My daughters make up 2 students, and over the next 10 years, each year, that's areas 1 and 2 only comprise, I think it's 9 total students per year is what they're estimating, not including the new charter schools going in. So I just wanted to come here to speak on behalf of that. There's something about continuity and these kids, when we came here, we moved here specifically because we were looking for a larger community that had a lot of opportunity, but that wasn't too big and still had that community feel. So we've gone and invested lots of time into the Vieira area, volunteering, getting our kids into sports, activities, and this is their community now. So I would really like to just express the small number of students that area 1 and 2 add to the total number of students going into that middle school. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salmon. Next up, Richard Weber.
Hi, y'all. I'm ill prepared as usual. I didn't write anything tonight to say, but this fiasco, this craziness, you can't change the definition of the word ban just because it makes you uncomfortable. If you request a review of a book and it's pulled off the shelf, essentially it's banned. And this resource taken away from our students is just a sad thing. And so anyway, we hit a new low 2 weeks ago when we had the one person asking for the most bans here in Brevard County up here reading an excerpt. I guess she thought it was pornography, but it was just a disgusting display in front of the young kids here. I cringed back there. I was here for those kids and their mother 2 weeks ago. And I was mad earlier today, and then I was just sad tonight. And but I got fired up again. Yeah, I'm pissed off. This shit needs to stop. I hope you all will kind of quell it a little. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. That concludes our public comments. We thank you for your willingness to address us in this public manner. We are now at the consent agenda. Ms. Hand.
Yes, sir, there are 34 items under this category.
Thank you, Ms. Hand. Does any board member wish to pull any of these items?
Hang on, give me 1 second. Sorry, my computer's, I don't think I have anything I'm pulling, but just.
Good. Ms. Campbell, you're moving through it. Is there anything you wish to pull?
No.
Okay. We're good? We're good? Everybody? Ms. Jenkins, you're good? Just saw you moving up there. Okay. All right, no items will be pulled for this. I will entertain a motion to accept the consent items with the exception of those pulled for discussion. If applicable, move to approve. Come on, second. Is there any discussion? No. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Just going to roll this thing. We will now hold a public hearing to address item G44, the Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund under the American Rescue Act, updated instructional continuity plans. Is there anyone here present who wishes to address this item? Is there anyone here who wishes to address this item? Do I hear a motion? Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right. 5-0. Ms. Handy, will you please let us know about the item under the action portion of today's agenda?
Yes, sir, the first item is H45, procurement solicitations.
Do I hear a motion? Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah. Just briefly. I just wanted to just celebrate a little bit. If with the passage of this,
Yeah,
the last item, the Focus School software that we're adding the component for it to have the shopping cart, is check with Miss Lisinski today. Does this mean that we can maybe pay registration fees online? And maybe somewhere, and she said yes in bold capital letters, and I sent her back a yay. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you, Miss Lisinski, and your team for working with this, because I know our community has asked and our staff have asked for a long time to be able to pay online, to use credit cards. People just don't. I mean, I may be one of the only check writers left in Brevard County.
Oh, no, I got one.
But the ability to pay online and just make it more convenient for our families. So I'm super excited about this particular item because it's what it's going to mean for our families.
Welcome to the 19th century.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Huh?
We good?
We accept checks, but not credit cards.
Right.
We're good to go. No, it was great, and thank you so much for everybody. Appreciate it.
We need to vote on it.
We do.
Yep,
Need to vote
yep.
on it.
You made the motion and someone seconded it already,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah.
You good? Everybody good?
All good.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Next is item H46, department school-initiated agreements.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
I'm going to roll them. All right. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Ms. Hand?
Yes, sir. Item H47 is regarding the new middle school attendance boundary, and the action for the board tonight is approve advertising the public hearing that will be advertised for May 30th.
Move to approve.
Do I hear? I was relishing the moment of what this is about to happen. Do I hear a motion?
We're just scheduling a meeting, Mr. Susan. Move to
Come on.
approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0. We will move on to the board information agenda, which includes items for board review and may be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items today. There's one item under this category. Does any board member wish to pull this item? Hearing none, that concludes our meeting. Are there any board member reports? Ms. Hand, do you have, okay, Ms. Jenkins?
Yeah, I just, so tonight we approved the MOU with the sheriff's office, and I didn't want to pull it because I was going to vote for it, but I do want to say this one thing. I was frustrated a little bit by the ease of transparency when it comes to this, and I'll say my why. We all believe that school security is our priority, and we all recognize that after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the state had given specific line item allocations for schools to improve their security. But we all know that that's not enough for every single district. As well as to the sheriff's office. I would assume the amount of money that they were given to protect our schools wasn't enough either in order to support our schools, especially in our county, the way that we're spread out and how many schools they support for us. I would just encourage that we ask for a little bit more transparency for us to be able to better advocate and articulate the needs and the deficits that exist, because we understand they exist. The sheriff's office is taking on a burden by supporting our schools, and the county has supplemented in many areas for them. But it's also really difficult for us to continue to keep up as well. And so in order for us and for the sheriff's office to continue to advocate at the state level for more funding to keep our kids safe, we need to know the why. And I understand the why, but I don't think I'm able to speak about it articulately. I understand that the ammunition is more expensive, that manufacturing guns is more expensive, vehicle maintenance, hiring and retaining and recruiting our staff, absolutely understand that. But I would love to be a better advocate for more funding for school safety, and I would encourage us to be a little more transparent with one another so that we can be better partners to advocate for more funding on both ends.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. This is one of the reasons why we have as a board, and FSBA has advocated for more funding for security every year, because it's kind of like transportation. The costs are higher than, I'm thankful for the state giving us money specific for say security, and I believe they've increased it just about every year since 2018. But like I said, it's not quite enough. And we've got some other counties that they have done their funding, or they have partnership. They have an SRO in every single school. Or I was in a school district. I having this conversation I told you with some school board buddies from around the state, and some of them have 2 in all their high schools. And so it is a need, and we do need to continue to advocate because this is important. It's a priority for everybody. But I think I agree with you as far as we need to continue to advocate for that, because it's important.
I'm glad that this is coming up, because honestly, this is something that I am passionate about when it comes to school security. I think that has to be our number one priority, is to make sure our children are safe. Our sheriffs do a great job at ensuring that our children are safe. And honestly, one of the things that really threw me was when I see this. Ms. Hand, how much does it cost the sheriff's department to provide this service to Brevard County Public Schools?
It's, if I remember correctly, it's costing the sheriff's department about 1.2 to 1.3 million over the reimbursement that we provide to the sheriff's office.
Right. That's right. So, and I don't think there's a single vendor that we work with that gives that much to a school system. I don't think there is. And if there is, I would love to know who it is. But I just thank you to our sheriffs, because you guys go above and beyond. You protect our children, and I will always advocate for safety. So thank you.
Mr. Trent, did you need to say anything?
No, I believe Ms. Bright just said it, and along with the other board members. But since you asked, yes, I saw that figure, and I thought that was an amazing figure. That they're willing to do that. That just shows that this is a community effort from the sheriff's office all the way down to our parents. So I think everyone involved. But we always got to look for better ways and way to add security for our kids, because that's what's important. So.
Yeah, and I think to close it out, I would say that I agree 100%. One of the issues is that he's done I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but the SROs in every school, he has gone out of his way to actually cover other cities and municipalities who have not been able to do so. Currently, 2 of our municipalities are not able to do that because of the constraints on hiring and stuff like that, but the sheriff has sent up a progressive way for these guys to, some of our SROs to move up in the agency, so they have selected that as a career path. So that's how he's able to push it together, and I also, and be able to provide the most of the SROs inside of our schools. The other piece I would like to say is, my wife used to be the assistant principal over at Croton, and many of the assistant principals and principals really appreciate the specialists that they have. So I would say that in many areas, that has been probably the most well-oiled and run security program that we've had, because they make our schools feel safe. And I think there's something to be said about the way that program, I mean, we literally, that came down, and within 6 months had people inside of the schools protecting our schools. And it was incredible the way it did it. We've been very lucky to have the sheriff have these resources towards us, and I honor everything that we had just signed, and I was excited to do so. So thank you very much. I think we're good for the end of the night.
No, no.
It's done. We
No.
all.